Hello, my name is Mike Kearsley, and today we're going to make this little injected molded knob. I'm in the CATIA V5 application, and I kind of want to show you what we're going to make today. We're going to make this little plastic injected knob, and it's going to have some ribs on the on this inside part here. What we're going to do is we're going to make this little rib first, and then we're going to do a circular rotation and rotate that feature around our center axis vector. And so what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about kind of design intent of how I'll make this, and I'll step you through the steps, and you'll see how I make this actual part here. So what we got is we got the tree over here, and we got this pad right here, which is the pad that we'll make first. The second pad is this pad, and then we'll create a draft angle of 7 degrees, and we'll get a little draft going on there, and then we'll create some fillets, and then we'll come back in the back, and before we do that, we'll do a mirror of this thing, and the idea here is we'll only create half of the part, and then we'll mirror the other half over, and we'll create some little edge fillets on this edge up in here and over in here at one time, and then we'll create a little pocket here, which we'll do a subtraction of material, and then we'll create this little pad here, and then we'll do a circular pattern. We'll create a little edge fillet, some edge fillets on this feature down in here. We'll create a little edge fillet down in here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create a little hole here, and then we'll mirror that hole over to the other side, and that'll be the basic steps of what we're going to do to create this little part here. So what I'll do now is I'll open up a brand new part file, and I'll show you how I make this part from the very scratch. So I go to Start, New Part, hit OK, and I'll type in New Knob here. Hit OK, and a brand new part pops up. What we'll do here is we'll no-show these planes here because we have the planes here and we have the planes here. So for me, it's just busy information, and the orientation. This is our orientation axis, and this axis you can think of really residing at the intersection of all these planes. So for example, we're going to start working on the YZ plane, which is this plane right here. So if I want to, I can just no-show these, and it makes it, for me, it makes it less busy. So again, start on the YZ plane, and we'll create a sketch. I'll select it, create the sketch icon in the toolbar, and now we're ready to start sketching. So what we'll do is we'll start in this circle toolbar here, and we'll start this thing as an arc here. So we'll select this, and we'll come up here and we'll create just a half arc here, and we'll hit there. I can minimize this also. Now I'll create a line that will connect the arc ends, and I'll dimension it, and we'll dimension this at 15 millimeters. We'll kind of slide that in, and we'll reframe down here a little bit. Okay, so now what I've done is I've created a sketch. When the sketch entities are green, that means it's totally defined, and I can exit the sketch and start building a feature here. So there's two ways to basically exit the sketch. I can exit the sketch with going into my workbench toolbar and exit workbench sketch, or I can just double click on the part body, and that'll exit the sketch. To minimize the amount of toolbars, I kind of like to just minimize that toolbar and double click on part body. So now what we'll do is we'll use this function, and we'll create a pad. I'll select the pad, and we'll create a dimension of 10 millimeters, and we'll select the sketch, and now we're about ready to start building the sketch, and I can hit OK, and we've now built the first solid feature in this part. So now what we can do is we can create another sketch, and we can continue building. So I'll select this face, and I'll create another sketch. And how I like to do it is I like to create a line here, which will be vertical, and I'll highlight this and I'll control this, and I'll add a constraint, which is coincidence with there. Now this little toolbar here will give me a normal view to there, so I can rotate it around if I like, and you can kind of see where I'm working. It's on the back side there, and I can hit this again to get it normal. So I'll go into this function, which is the profile function. I'll double click it, and I'll zoom that up a little bit, and I'll start building my sketch. I can exit out of that. Now I can double click on the constraint toolbar, and I can start dimensioning this sketch. We'll dimension that as 15. We'll dimension this as 25. We'll dimension this as 10. We'll also add dimensions from the axis of 18. Another dimension of 18 here. We're getting close to getting this part totally defined. As you can see, it's still white, so it needs more dimensions. We can try to add an angular dimension here and see if we get green. We do. So green again means totally the sketch is totally constrained, and you can kind of see where we're sketching here. It's on this this plane right in here. And so now we can exit out of our constraint. We can double click on part design, and we've created another sketch to drive a feature. And this is the sketch right here we just created. Ooh, it looks like we've got a little extension line here, so I can go back in and clean that up. Okay, we'll go back into the sketch, and incidentally, if you want to check and see if a sketch is ready to drive a feature, you can go to Tools, Sketch Analysis, and it says it's opened, and that gives you a warning. So, and this is the warning. So it's telling you that it's not going to drive a feature until this is closed. So we can close this here, and we can go down into our Trim toolbar, and we can select that. We can select this. It's giving us a little error message, so we can try to delete a dimension and go back and do a trim function. Now let's see if this thing is totally closed. So we're going to go to Sketch Analysis, and it is closed, so it will drive a feature. So we can go back to isometric. We can double click on part design, and we can build this feature. Pad it. We'll go over 5. We'll select the profile. And in this case, we need to reverse the direction because it's going in the wrong direction that we want to go. We can hit OK, and we've just built that feature in the tree. If you like, we can go back and color these features so you can kind of identify them with a color. Hit OK. So the orange color represents this pad here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create, like I said, the draft function. We're going to use the draft function to draft this surface, and this surface. Actually, those faces. So what we'll do is we'll go down here into the draft function, and it's asking for an angle. We'll type in 7 degrees, and the faces to draft. We'll select the faces, and then it's going to ask for a neutral element, and everything looks okay, 7 degrees. We'll see if it'll drive it, and it did. Now what we can do is we can go over here and we can see if it is in fact drafted, and there is. It does look like there is about a 7-degree angle on there. Again, if you like to add color to that draft, you can go into Properties, and you can color that draft. Also, you can color things by right-clicking over here and going to Graphics Properties and select the item and color it with Graphics Properties. Usually in these applications there's more than one way to do things. So now what we're ready to do is we're ready to create some fillets and make this part a little bit more pleasant. So we'll create the fillet, edge fillet toolbar. We'll double click on that and we'll key in we'll select this and we'll key in a radius of, let's say, 18 millimeters. And then what we'll do is we'll create another fillet of 5 millimeters up in here. Hit OK. We'll cancel out of that. And if you like, we can color those fillets. Hit OK. Properties. Color that fillet. Hit OK. So you kind of see what we got. So that edge fillet is the one we just made. The one before that, when was this in here? Now I'm going to fillet this edge here with a 1 millimeter fillet, and this line down in here with a 1 millimeter fillet, and this edge right here with 1 millimeter, and I'll do it all at one time. So we'll type in 1 millimeter and objects to fillet. We'll select up in here, and it'll drive. The software is smart enough to drive along this whole curve. We'll also select this. It'll drive along this curve, and we'll drive along this curve. We'll hit OK, and we'll see if we drove it. OK, so we've now created that one fillet of 1 millimeter in basically 3 locations. And we can cancel out of that, and if you like, we can color that yellow. OK, so now what we've done is we've created basically half of this plastic turn knob. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create the other half with a pretty slick little function called mirror. And you can either get the mirror function through right-click here and transformation features down in here, which is mirror, or you can get it up in here where with tools or with insert transformation features mirror. I generally like to access it here because it doesn't require me to bring another toolbar open in which I have to close. So what it's asking is down in here, select a plane or face. We'll go ahead and do that. And it's smart enough to know that we want to mirror the whole current solid. So we hit OK, and we've just mirrored the solids that we've created over onto the other side. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to create another fillet down this edge here to make the part a little bit more pleasant. And we'll create a 10 millimeter fillet along that edge. We'll select it, and it's smart enough to know that it wants to go down to this point here. We'll hit OK, and we'll see what we get. We can color that to get a little bit better graphic representation of that item. Hit OK. Now we've got this part looking pretty much like the knob that we want to build. Go back and select the isometric view and get it into a nice position. Okay, so now what we've got to do is we've got to create a recess back in here, and we're going to add some little flanges on that recess. So to do that, I can go and left click on here and create a sketch on that surface and create some geometry and then take out some material. So to do that, I'll go into the circle and I'll select the center point. I'll drive it out. I'll hit my dimension function and I'll dimension over, and I'll make that dimension diameter 28 millimeters. That leaves 1 millimeter on each side. I can exit the sketch at this point because it's green, and I can use that geometry to drive a pocket. This is the function that we'll use to take out material. It's called a pocket or recess. So I can select that function. I can select dimension, which it already is, and then I can type in a depth of 8 millimeters, and I can select the sketch to create the pocket. It gives me kind of a hidden lines to kind of show me what it's going to do, and you can see that it's about 2 millimeters from this edge here, and that's about how much material I want to leave in the part. I can hit OK, and it just made the pocket. So this pocket right here is the pocket. We can, if you like, we can color that to make it a little bit more visible. Hit OK. Salmon color that represents that pocket. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create this little rib down in this area here. In order to do that, I've got to create a sketch on this face right in here. So I can select that face, and I can select sketch, and I can go in here and start making some geometry that I can drive a feature. I'll select on this edge here, and I'll go down here to this little tool here, which is project 3D elements, and it'll project that line onto that sketch. Now I can create another line element here, and it wants to tie itself to that geometry. And I'll make this line symmetrical about this Y vector on the axis. So we'll go select the symmetry tool. We'll select the it says select the element that you want to make symmetry, and then it's asking for something to make it symmetry of. So we just drove that geometry over on the other side, and these are little icons telling you that is in fact symmetrical. Now what I can do is I can connect the top parts of this sketch with a horizontal line, and I can kind of zoom in on this thing and trim it up a little bit. Trim that element to that element, that element to that element. Now again, you can go into the tools, sketch analysis, and it's all close. So I know at this point I can drive geometry. But there's one thing that's basically not done with this sketch, is it's not dimensioned yet. So if I want to dimension this, I can double click there, and I can start dimensioning this sketch. So I'll make that at 1 millimeters. I'll dimension this to here at 1.75. Hit OK. Now I've got a dimension. It's still not green, so I've got a dimension off of this vector of the axis to this edge here, and I can make that 12 millimeters. Now we've got this sketch fully constrained. The green again means fully constrained. The yellow represents information that tells you that edge is now tied to this feature here. So if I change that feature, and it will drive with that feature change. So I can also exit the sketch. I'll exit the sketch at this time after I get out of my dimension toolbar, and I can double click on part, and we've created a sketch here that I can drive and create a feature. So I'll select on pad, and it asks me dimension. I can select up to next, and then I can select the sketch. If for some reason it's not particularly liking that, it might be because it's of the reverse direction, which it was. And now I can hit OK, and I've just created that feature. So we've just created a feature here, this pad, and I'll go and I'll color that for you so you can kind of see it. We'll make it red. And now what we're going to do, we'll zoom down a little bit, and we'll take that one pad feature, and we'll revolve it around a center axis and continue on with the part. So what I need now is I need an axis to revolve this thing around, and I'll create this axis. Hit OK. I've now created an axis at the orientation of these planes, and it allows me to pick this X vector for the rotation axis. So now what I can do is I can go to Tools, or Insert, Transformation Features, Circular Pattern. and I can go in here and I can select instances and angular spaces. I can type in an angular distance of 60 degrees, and it's asking for a reference dimension direction, which is this x vector on the axis, and it's also asking for the item to pattern, and I'll select this pad. So now you can see that I'm creating these instances of two instances of this feature circular pattern, and if I want to up it, I can you can kind of see as it goes around here that now we'll have six of these features revolved around this x vector. Hit OK, and that circular pattern is now created. So now it's looking more and more like a part. What I can do is I can add a little fillet in here, and I can type in 0.5. I can select this bottom face, and it will propagate tangent to that whole face. And I can select OK, and it's going to drive a little fillet. As you can see, it drove it. We can, again, to kind of make it more visible, we can highlight and show that in yellow. Now about the we've got to do a couple more things to make this part a little bit so it's finished, and one of the items to make it a little bit more pleasant is to add some fillets around this edge here so it's not so sharp. So we can do that with the fillet function. I'll double click on it, and we'll try a radius of 5 millimeters and see if that'll drive it. You can select that, face and tangent, hit OK. It gives me a little error message that says it failed, and it's basically saying that decrease the radius if you want this thing to work. So we'll go back and hit OK. We'll type in a 0.3 and see if that'll drive. And it did, in fact. So cancel out of that, and you can see that we've made that little fillet. Down in here is probably the tricky part where it was probably having a little bit of a problem there. So we can zoom back out. Now what we've got to do is we've got to create a hole over here and do a symmetry. So what we'll do is we'll create a hole with the hole function. We'll select on that, and we'll start driving that hole feature. So we can, the type of hole we want to do is we want to do it countersunk, and we'll do it with depth and angle. Our depth will be 1.2. That'll be the depth of the countersunk fastener. This depth right here, and our angle will be 90 degrees. That's the angle of the countersunk of the fastener. We'll go back and type in our extension of our hole diameter. We'll type in 2.2, and this here we'll type in up to next, and we'll select OK. Now we've created that little countersunk hole, but it's probably not in the right location because I just selected a point on this face. So we can go into this sketch and we can see where that point location is. Now we can go in and constrain that point location. So I can select the point, select that exit right there. I can type in a value of 0. I want it in the center of the part. And I can also type in a distance of 10 inches. 10 millimeters, pardon me. So now we can also exit that sketch, click on part body, and we've now created that countersunk hole. We can rotate the part to make sure that it's not interfering with any of our ribs that we've created. And Now the last thing we have to do is just mirror this feature over onto this side, and we're basically done. So I can select the feature, which is this whole location. I can go to Insert, Transformation Features, Mirror, and I can select the mirroring element, which will be my, I can drag that up, which will be my ZX plane. I can either select it here or I can select it up in the tree. In this case, I'll select it right here. Hit OK, and I've now mirrored that feature onto the other side. So what we've done here is we've created this new part in part design, and we've created a new cat part file. So we can I'll show you what we've done here. These are the two parts that we had open, tile horizontal. So this was our original part, and this is our brand new part here. And that kind of concludes the exercise. Stay tuned for more videos on how to work with CATIA V5.